Hi, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how the moon can affect our digestion. So, I don't know if you've ever noticed that sometimes you'll be feeling like your digestion's a little more sluggish than other times. And this might be directly related to which phase the moon is at in the sky. So, we're going to talk about how we can eat with the moon and align with the energy. So, the phase of the moon directly affects our digestive fire. And the moon is basically a representation of where our agni is at. So, when the moon is going from the new moon to the full moon, this is when our agni is getting better and better. And so when the moon is full, this is like when we are have the best digestive fire and we probably would want to eat like our heaviest meal during this time because we would be able to digest it the best. And then as the moon's going from the full moon to the new moon, that like dark moon would be when our digestive fire was the most diminished. And so, Ayurveda says that we eat with the sun, we fast with the moon, and we cleanse with the seasons. And eating with the sun is basically like eating with the different times of the day. So you want to have breakfast within a couple hours of the sun coming up. You want to eat when you want to eat your biggest meal when the sun is highest in the sky and your digestion's the strongest. And then, of course, you want to try not to eat about 4 hours before going to bed. So this is kind of how we already align with eating with the sun. And then as far as fasting with the moon, that's more of like a ritual, but we're going to talk about how we can also eat with the moon. And then cleansing with the seasons is every spring and fall during the equinox, we want to do a cleanse just somewhere around that time. It doesn't have to be right on the equinox or anything like that, but just somewhere around that time as we're transitioning from summer to winter and winter to summer, we want to do kind of like a maintenance cleanse. And the phases of the moon is basically a microcosm of the Earth's rotation around the sun. So we can look at the full moon as like the summer solstice, and then the new moon is the winter solstice or the dark moon. And then the both quarter moons are like the equinox. And so every single month we kind of have like a little microcosm of the year. And so the cleansing part, so there's always like a cleansing part in the year, and there's actually a cleansing part in the month, and that is actually during the time where we get near the dark moon. And that would be the time where maybe we just have like a day or two of eating soups and simple foods and just eating smaller, simpler meals, not having snacks between meals, not having any food after 6 p.m., drinking a lot of water and tea. And so we can think of kind of these cycles within cycles. And so we have the daily cycle, and then we have a monthly cycle, and then we have a yearly cycle. And so, according to Ayurveda, we want to eat with the time of the day, the phase of the moon, and the season that we are in. So, we're thinking about all three of these things in Ayurveda when we are meal planning and deciding how and when we're going to eat. And it probably sounds like a lot of information all at once, but you get more and more used to it and it just starts to become natural. So during the waxing moon, so this is when we're going from the new moon to the full moon, and it's important now to talk a little bit about how this aligns with our menstrual cycle. So if you are a menstruating woman, then you would probably want to eat with your own moon cycle and not the actual moon cycle in the sky. If you are a menopausal woman or a man, then you're going to want to follow what is happening with the moon in the sky. And then this is also why, as women, we want to align with the moon because we can be dealing sometimes with opposing energy. So if we are At our full moon space where we are feeling like we want to eat something maybe a little bit naughty, and but yet the moon in the sky is at the new moon phase that is going to affect our digestion. So this is just another reason why as women we want to work on aligning with the moon. And I have a video about that that I'll link below. But the biggest recommendation I have for that is to go outside and follow the moon, look at the moon in the morning, look at the moon at night, think about where it's at, and just start to track your moon phases and the actual moon in the sky phases and kind of just have them going side by side. And you may notice that they start to kind of sync up more and more. So let's talk about what we're going to eat and how the waxy moon affects our digestion. So this is again when we're going from the new moon to the full moon, or when you're going from your menstrual cycle to ovulation. And so the energy is starting to grow because the moon, the light is getting bigger and bigger. And this is also when agni is building. So when the moon is full, that's actually when our agni is at its peak. And so this is when we can eat a lot of the healthier fats. This is when we can have like the steak or the hamburger. This is when you can go out to eat. This is a great time to host a potluck because we want to be around people. We want to be sharing meals with people. This is when we break the rules. So I highly recommend that you break the rules here and there. That way you kind of have this like outlet and you don't just have like a full meltdown moment. So if you're gonna break the rules, which we're gonna break the rules, let's break them now. And then this energy peaks at the full moon. So this is the time when we can get away with eating what we want to eat and not suffering as much of the consequences for it. So remember that if you are going to go out to eat or plan a dinner out, this is the best time to plan. Of course, life happens. We can't plan everything perfectly, but this is the time that you would want to do that. Okay, so next is the waning moves phase. And this is when we're going from the full moon to the dark moon. And also when you're going from ovulation back to menstruation. And so the energy is decreasing, the agni or the digestive fire is diminishing. And so now is when we want to do more of the cleansing. And of course, this happens as we get closer and closer to that dark moon. But we're thinking more and more about, okay, I don't want to eat such heavy foods. I want to move a little bit more towards lighter foods. And we're just kind of slowly transitioning. And then you might get to a place where you're eating khichdi for a day or two every month. And this is nice because khichdi is such a simple meal. And if you make one batch, it will be at least 2 days worth of khichdi. And so while you're kind of going into that dark moon phase, or while you're in the dark moon phase and you're on your period, it's nice to just have food already prepared so you don't have to put a lot of effort. And so khichdi is actually a really good option for that. And it's easy for the body to digest. And so it makes the perfect meal for that dark moon. And then this is also when we want to enjoy more quiet meals, more meals by ourselves or with just a small group of people like family. This is a good time to let other people cook for you. This is when we want to follow the rules. So maybe we want to be a little bit more careful around this time and with the food that we're choosing. And then, of course, this peaks at the dark moon phase. And so, one thing that I've noticed for myself is that I always craved like a hamburger and French fries or like something greasy and heavy during this waning moon phase. But this is when my digestive fire is actually the weakest. And so this is not the time for that. And I always thought, oh, it's my body like craving something heavy before I'm going to start my period. But actually, if you allow yourself to have that hamburger during the waxing moon phase, then you're going to be less likely to have that craving during the waning moon phase and actually be more likely to feel like, oh, I really want to do like a simple meal and a little bit of cleansing right now so I can kind of feel a little bit lighter. And so give that a try if you've ever noticed that before, where right before you start your period, you want to eat a bunch of fattening food. So funny. It's so true. Then maybe try switching it up and uh doing that during the next full moon. Eat like the hamburger and have the ice cream and just let yourself be like so bad and naughty or whatever. Not really, but giving ourselves a little bit of leeway can actually make it so that we can be in more alignment. And by having the fattier foods during the time where our digestion is stronger, we're going to be able to process it better. And then when we get to the waning moon, when our digestion is starting to go down, we're going to be craving more of those good foods and the lighter foods. And so it's just kind of like getting into this natural rhythm and cycle with the seasons, the moon, and the day. And again, it might sound like a lot of information, but once you kind of start to just slowly integrate all of it into your life, start, just by figuring out what season you're in and what foods are in season at this time, and then plan your meals during the time of the day where you're going to be able to digest them the best. I have a video on that as well that I'll link below. And then planning them around where the moon is at. And so it does sound like a lot, but it really isn't that overwhelming when you just kind of get into the rhythm of it. So I would love to know if you have ever tried eating with the moon before, how that's gone for you. And if you learned anything from this video, please hit the like button or subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful day.